If I may say so, Aaron,
yeah.
I think I make a very good point. I just want to go shopping. I just want to buy the products that I like. I don't know, they might taste good, they might make me feel good, whatever. I don't wander around spending my spare time looking at... when I was looking at Ben and Jerry's today for this job advert, they've got this whole list of their values, their causes. You know, they're against the Rwanda plan. Pack it in. I want some ice cream. What do you think?
Where would you draw the line, though? So if they said we only have organic British milk, you say, well, that's good. So I think it's a question of what kinds of values do we think are permissible, or is there a line that we don't want people to go beyond?
Well, look, because organic British milk is a core ingredient to their core product. Sure. Sitting there and telling me that I'm creating a to-do list for the government, i.e. stop outsourcing refugees to Rwanda, what has that got to do with chocolate fudge ice cream or whatever it is?
This is one of those rare moments in politics. I'm very sympathetic to your argument, Michelle, and I'm very happy that you are on the side of people that are very critical of corporate brand washing. And I do agree with you. And it's the same with Pride, by the way.
Oh, don't even get me started on Pride.
You know, BAE Systems supports... Your job is to, you know... Well, actually, I'm not going to say I'm a particularly big fan of their job either, particularly, you know, selling weapons to the Saudi state to bomb Yemenis. But regardless, I agree. We live in a really strange moment where everything is political except politics. You know, politicians accuse each other of playing politics, don't they? They say, no, don't get ideological, don't play politics. We're just managing the system. Everything but politics is political, whether it's, like, say, brands, you know, your favourite designer, your haircut. Everything's political except politics. And I think that says something about our society in the 21st century, our inability to really address big problems. And again, I agree with you, just to finish, this isn't how we address big problems like bigotry, inequality. I would add finally one thing, though. Yes, businesses should be concerned about making their products and selling their products and hopefully making a profit, but also looking after their workers.
Yeah, and I just think they're hypocrites. I cannot help it. I've tried to be really sympathetic. I've tried to put myself in the mindset of someone that perhaps doesn't like the Rwanda plan. I wouldn't sit there. I wouldn't sit there and say, yes, I don't want people to go to Rwanda.
So I'll buy that ice cream.
I just wouldn't. So if I wouldn't do that, if I supported that cause, then why on earth would I do it if I didn't? And why, as a brand, would you want to alienate potentially half of your customer base by getting involved in this stuff?
Yeah, so I think the prima facie superficial reaction is one of either astonishment or praise, if you like, if you're part of the group of people that, you know, don't want anyone to go to Rwanda. But there's something much more serious behind actually what's happening, Michelle, here. And, you know, when I started in business, there were clear-cut obligations that you had as a director of a company. You had to look after your creditors, your employees, and your shareholders. They were the three, including the taxman, who's a creditor, obviously. Taxman comes right at the top, believe it or not, in your obligations as a director. But through the, if you like, the wokeization of corporate life, other obligations have crept in. And in the last 10 years, something called environmental, social and corporate governance has become almost de rigueur if you want to do business as a company, borrow money, list your shares on the stock exchange, get outside investors. You have to follow ESG principles. And ESG is a mechanism that these institutions and government quangos have, created in order to drive their social agendas and their environmental agendas through companies. It is the socialization, it is the dumbing down of capitalism, it's the hijacking of the profit motive in order to deliver other outcomes of a very political nature. So when companies like Ben & Jerry's champion LGBTQ rights or whatever it is, they're doing it with half an eye on what their ESG goals are and what their ESG ratings are going to be. Companies are actually rated on this. You know, you tick boxes saying, well, I've got ethnic minorities on the board, I've got women on the board, I've got someone who identifies as a different gender on the board, I've got employees from different ethnicities, I'm promoting LGBTQ rights. You get ticks in the boxes for all of this. And of course, all of this distracts from making money. And all of this is damaging, therefore, to the economy. And that is my concern. We are socializing corporate capitalist activity. We are pulling the rug out from underneath the profit motive, which is so critical for the driving forward of the country. So at one level, you can look at what Ben and Jerry's are doing and just roll your eyes and say, well, I'm going to buy their ice cream or not. But at another level, actually, you're seeing something really quite damaging to the United Kingdom and indeed the Western world generally.
Yeah, and I think who is driving this? Who in these companies sits there and says, right, boss, today I've cracked it. I know how we're going to sell a load of squashed up fruit in bottles. I know what we're going to do, boss. We're going to go to our social media and we're going to use mermaids, this very questionable charity, to put it mildly, and we're going to get them to teach people how to talk. If someone came to me, if I was in charge of one of these companies, someone came to me with those kind of suggestions, I'd laugh. I'm really sorry, I don't mean to be harsh, but I would laugh and I would send that person back out there to their desk and tell them to go figure again. And who gets to decide, by the way, which values are good and noble and which ones are not? Because some of these brands, when I look at brands, some of them boycott this channel, by the way, because they'll say, oh, GB News doesn't align with our values. Like, get off. Give me an absolute break.
Well, the values are given to them, Michelle. You know, they've got to drive towards net zero. You can't disagree with net zero if you want to comply with ESG. You know, that's the kind of hijacking that's going on.
Well, do you know what? Never mind Ben and Jerry's, everyone. Look, we've got an even better version, haven't we? We've got Ben and Aaron.